Doc, it's time to rock. Welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen, to the 5150 show. We've got a special episode here, Brad. We've got two guys joining the channel for their first ever ranking of the tracks, brother.
I know. I'm excited.
They're popping their cherry, Andrew. They're popping their cherry.
I've watched some almost all the old, the old ranking the tracks that you guys have, like Zeppelin 3, like all these great albums, and they're so great. Much respect on that stuff, man. Much respect.
Yeah, as you know, as you can tell, it's a lot of work once you start diving into it. It's not, we put a lot of hard work into it. So, it's good that people appreciate it. That's great. Thanks, Jim.
I was telling Andrew that this one's a little bit different because usually, the ranking the tracks are like old albums that we've had for, that we've grown up with and have known for decades, whereas this is just released, so it's a little bit more interesting, But
why? Because there's no new rock music anymore. So.
Yeah,
barely any, right?
That's a good point. Yeah, barely anything worth talking about.
Yeah,
which is a
great point about this album.
It's great that we've got something new to actually rank. That's the beauty part of it. So when I actually bought it, that's why I brought it up to Andrew. I said, I think we need to, do something with this because it's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm glad we did, and I couldn't think of two other guys, bro, worthy of hanging out with us, talking about this album and this band. I certainly look forward to it, and there's a couple of cool cats in the chat as well who are obviously Extreme and Nuno fans. We really appreciate the fact that you guys are hanging out with us. We're going to be starting the show off soon, but if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do, and go and check out our friends as well on our community page there, and go and subscribe to them. On the end of this video, if you're watching on a replay, I'll have Brad's social media account, I'll have John's, and I'll have Jimmy's. So go out there and subscribe to what those guys are doing. We really appreciate it. I think that's my job. That's it.
That's your job done. You might as well go home, Andrew. Oh,
Andrew.
If you guys are familiar with what we do here, we're going to go through. We rank the tracks out of 10. We're going to do a bit of an intro. John and Brad are going to talk about that, and we'll offer some insights. And then Brad's going to kick off the rankings, followed by John, Jimmy, and then myself. Halftime, we've got some picks. We've got some really cool picks, folks, to show you. We've got some really, really cool picks, and also John's got something for you guitar nuts. You want to hang out. You want to wait till at least halftime, Brad, don't they? At least the guitar fans want to hang out till halftime.
Hell yeah.
I reckon they need to hang out the whole show, Andrew.
Oh, the whole show.
Yeah. It's a guitar
Awesome. We've got one more person to join us. The quorum is 10 before we do a shout out. So what I'll do is I'll get you, John, when we've got 10 to do the shout out. And then Brad, at the end of the show, I'll get you to say goodbye to everybody and thanks for everyone for we got 10 people, John.
Time to go. All right. Got Robert Ranford in the house.
Yay.
Christopher Live Sawa, Mikey Mojo, John Zed D351. Holly Lewis. Let's see, where am I? Randy Price. Is that 10? Did I say? Am I missing? Oh, wait a minute. I'm missing some people here. Oh, wait, I gotta go back. Yeah. Let's see.
I think you got them all. We've got some people watching that haven't. The 10 people will probably include us as well. But that's all good. The minimum number is 10 for a shout out, John. So obviously, guys, we're here for a great album. John, do you want to kick it off? What are we ranking, brother?
Yeah, so we're ranking Extreme's new album 6, and we've been waiting a long time for this album, like 10 years since the last one, Saudade de Rock, whatever it was from like 2009, I think, or 8. That's how long we've been waiting for this. And then they kind of kept saying over the last couple of years, oh yeah, the album will be out in the spring. The album will be out this. It was like, how many springs passed before it finally showed up, I was getting annoyed. I would be like, yeah, sure. We're never going to see this album, but it was worth the wait. I think we'd probably all agree that there's really not one bad track on the album. Maybe some that we don't care for, but I don't think there's a bad track on the album. I think it's good, as far as that. At least myself, I feel that way. I don't think there's a bad one in there. There's nothing that I automatically skip over, which you usually do. There's usually some filler, but they've had how many years, now to get rid of all the filler and just keep recording stuff until they got all the good ones.
John, yeah. I think it's actually 15 years, John, since their last album.
Yeah, can you believe it?
That's like a band's career almost.
Yeah,
it's a long time.
Yeah. Anyway,
yeah.
Continue on, John.
Yeah, before we kick it off, though, so there's one thing that I noticed right away. The first time I heard Rise, it to me it didn't sound so much like an Extreme song, because I said there's something weird about this song. So I looked on Apple Music at the songwriting credits, and I noticed that Rise and pretty much every other song has an outside writer or two working on them with the guys in the band, with Nuno and Gary. I think the only one I could think of is the last song on the album, "Here's to the Losers," is Gary wrote that by himself. He's the only songwriting credit on that one at all. It's just Gary wrote that, which is kind of cool. But and I think it's pretty noticeable. I'm sure you guys noticed it too. And as we go through it, we'll talk about it more. But my only criticism would be is like, I think the only thing that's missing from it is that those funky riffs. You know what I mean? I was hoping for a little one, like give me one He-Man Woman Hater, like with that Nuno funky riff. To me, it's more straight ahead metal than the funky kind of metal that they were used to from them. But
there's some heavy stuff on here that I'll talk about. There's some heavy songs.
There definitely is. They jumped around, did a bunch of different styles, and I have to say, you guys probably agree that although Nuno's guitar is incredible on the album and Nuno shines on it, it's really a great Gary Cherone album too. His vocals are great, and his lyrics, and he was, like I said, that one song, "Here's to the Losers," he wrote that song by himself. I mean, I think it's everybody hyped up about Nuno on it, and it's funny because I pointed out that technique that he does on Rise. He's been doing that for 35 years. You know what I mean? Like Jimmy, I know Jimmy, like you're like more of a guitar, like those. You love George Lynch, you love Warren DeMartini. I like those guys, but I never like Eddie was my guy, and then Nuno was the only other one that I took to like Eddie. I just felt that he had that aggression in his playing, like Eddie did. He was the only one that I could even like, get that same vibe when I heard him play. Was like Eddie was Nuno. So I was a huge. Those were my two guys over the last whatever years. But so I mean, I kind of favor Nuno because of that, because of his playing. But anyway. We'll get into it, but I think that this album is really a great Gary performance, a great Nuno, the solos Nuno performance too. It's and I think and I hope this isn't the last album that we hear, from them. You know what I mean? And for another 15 years, I hope they go back in and do it. Unfortunately, bands don't have the motivation to go waste a year or two out of their lives and spend thousands and thousands of dollars on buying an album that people give away for free, or they get for free. You know what I mean? But I still like when bands do that. And when they tour behind an album, it's just me. You're a musician. Musicians write music. As soon as you start just playing your old catalog, all you are is a nostalgia act, basically, like the Stones are now. And like any band that does that, we still love them, but it's just basically, it's just going through the motions every night. They're going out there making, all these bands are making tons of money. But I like when they have a focus on a new album, and I want to hear new stuff from bands I really like. I know a lot of people don't, but I do. I want to hear, like when Extreme tours with this, I want to hear them playing a few songs off this album. So
good point, John. That's a good point. But I got to stick up for the Rolling Stones because they are recording new material, even these nostalgia acts. But that's a fantastic intro, Brad. You got anything you want to add to what Johnny said?
Look, the success of, say, reinvigorating guitar into a world that's pretty much non-existent at the moment. So Nuno is, he's touring with Steve Vai, Zach Wild, all those guys he was touring with. I think it put a bit of fire in his belly, and it's actually come through in this record. You can really hear it. It's a shame it's taken 15 years to get this thing out, but we've got it now, and obviously look at the views of Rise on YouTube. I think it's 3 million views, and it's only been out a couple of months, guys. I think Rise. So that's phenomenal, really. The video made the three, or hang on, I think they've done 4 videos. They made a massive impact to the industry. So it just goes to show videos are still relevant, even though MTV is not quite what it was. I mean, we haven't got MTV here in Australia anymore. Music videos still make a big difference. The band, like you said, John, Gary's vocals, I mean, I've always thought, and John ZD351 mentioned this in the chat, I've always thought Gary's vocals have always been, I don't know why he cops so much flack. He's got a phenomenal voice.
Yep.
And this album is a full band effort, but it really highlights Nuno, his playing, where he's at the moment as a player. And it really highlights Gary's voice. Their songwriting together, they did write with a lot of it. And I think Nuno's been in a circle of songwriters in the past and whatnot. So I think it's actually, good that they brought an outside songwriter in, but it's still, I agree with you, John. I'm waiting for the funkier riffs. Yeah, I'm waiting for that in the whole record, but I kind of let go of that after the first 4 tracks. I went, okay, it's not going to happen. Right. And then I just sort of engulfed the record for what it is. And my first listen through to the record, I was actually a bit gobsmacked because it wasn't what I expected. And I think they've taken it to a new place, and the band needs to be a bit darker and heavier at the moment. Maybe their next record will be a little bit funkier if they do one, and hopefully guys don't wait, like John said, another 15 years. We want something sooner, a backup. I'm assuming what you'll get is now Nuno's been through all the changes he's wanted to do through his career. He's done a lot of solo, Morning Widows, Drama Gods. I've seen them, blah, blah, blah. He's actually got to a point now, I think, where Extreme is his back to his main priority. And hopefully he's the producer. He's like the Jimmy Page of the band. He's driving force. I think he's going to basically push for another record straight away. Let's pray. And that's all I want to say, guys.
Good point. Good points, bro, as usual. Really appreciate that, folks. And let us know what you think, obviously, in the chat as well, and we'll try and highlight your comments. Jimmy, before Brad kicks off the rankings, you wanna add Top Jimmy's quick opinion on the album, please? Yeah.
It's almost like we had a group think, because I kind of sensed that too. I was waiting for, like a porno graffiti type riff or something, and it's funny, I had the same thing where I'm like, but then a lot of this, my favorite Extreme album is 3 Sides. And a lot of these tracks reminded me, kind of felt like they should be on 3 Sides to me. It was kind of like, because 3 Sides is a little bit more, it wasn't, 80s like metal-y or whatever, there wasn't, of course there was like, great songs like Warheads and stuff, but I also loved Rise and Shine and stuff like that. Am I ever going to change? Stuff like that. So I kind of let it go. I kind of let the whole porno graffiti, like wanting porno graffiti too or whatever, and just took it all in. And I've got my notes here, so we can talk about that.
Cool. That sounds great. And as usual, folks. These are just opinions by fans. I'm a fan. Brad's a fan. John and Jimmy, we're just fans, and we're just sharing our experiences and our thoughts. And if you agree with them, if you don't agree with them, let us know. Be cool. Brad, kick it off, brother.
100%, guys. Well, look, I just think what I wanted to say also was... hang on, let me just do this. What I wanted to say also, guys, was with say, for example, Gary's, because the tie-in with Van Halen, and we'll get into this in the songs, but with Nuno, his playing is reinvigorated because of his love for Eddie, and Eddie passed away, and it was exactly that. and there's no point me even talking now because Andrew's put it up. That's perfect. Yeah, it's
No, I'm glad you brought it up, bro.
Yeah.
Nice
I
one.
just wanted to mention that quickly before we go into the track rankings. But thanks for showing that, Andrew. That makes my job easier because I don't have to try and talk about it. It's there in writing.
Yeah, he said it.
Guys?
He said
He
it.
said it. Right? And it really, I think it really affected Nuno just as much as it affected Gary and everyone. So, and everyone in the music community that loves Van Halen. And on this channel, you know, Van Halen's a big part of the channel, so I thought that was pretty relevant. So, guys, the first song of the album is Rise, as we know it. And wow, what a tough as nails riff, to be honest with you. The first time I heard it, I actually, like when they released this straight off the bat, I just went and listened to it straight away because, John, I know you've commented on some of my stories about Extreme when I've shared stories listening to Extreme and stuff like that. I didn't expect this. I expected something different. I heard that. I thought, wow, when the drums come in, there's something about it that's got like a Metallica feel of Fuel or something like that to me. I don't know if it was intentional or not. I doubt it. I think they just write songs, these guys. But when I'm thinking, where's this song going? But as soon as Gary's vocal comes in, the song really takes shape. You really know it's Extreme at that point. Prior to that, you could think it's Metallica. You wouldn't know. You wouldn't know who it is. It's a great vocal melody, and the verses are really catchy. Great lyrics. You know, he's a great lyricist. He writes fantastic lyrics. I know Nuno writes some lyrics as well. And let's just sort of think about, they love the Beatles, and I think they incorporate the Beatles and Van Halen into their backing vocals. And Nuno's a great singer in his own right, as we know that. But Gary and Nuno, their voices really complement each other. I think over the years, they've spent so much time together singing that, and this has happened to me when I've been in bands with a lead singer, your voices end up complementing each other because you start to learn how to sing with each other. And these guys have really got it down. You know, there's some, Nuno adds these fantastic guitar licks in the second verse, especially the one with the dive bomb, which we all love, that sort of thing. There was a time there when Nuno sort of shied away from using a trembo. He just didn't want to use it. It was like a no-go zone. So I think that's his, you know, reinvigorating that. Maybe, you know, as we get into this song, obviously you guys are going to mention the phase and all that, I'm sure. He's nodding to Ed a little bit through this song.
Good point.
100%. But I have to say his style through his career with Extreme and Drama Gods and Mourning Widows and his solo career, it's always remained Nuno's style. I don't think anyone really can play like Nuno. The middle bridge section before the solo, that call and response with the guitar and vocal thing that Gary and Nuno are doing, that's one of my favorite parts of the song. I love that. Then we get to the solo, and let's be honest, it has to be one of the most talked about solos in the last 10 or more years. Let's be honest. My first listen through this song, the solo absolutely floored me. I'm being dead set, honestly. Nothing's in the last 10, 15 years has floored me this much. I was gobsmacked. I was like, I had to listen to it a few times to take in what was actually happening because there's a lot going on there. I'm just looking at my notes because I've deviated a bit because I'm really passionate about this solo. It floored me. That tremolo picking at the start. I mean, it's so explosive the way he comes into that. And then he dives bombs that all the way up the neck. That's unreal. But there's no rhythm guitar behind it, so you can really focus on what the rhythm section are playing as well. Pat Badger and Kevin, the drummer, he's a monster drummer. He's slamming it home on those drums, and it's just fat. There's a lot of space. There's a lot of air going on there. And Nuno sounds like he's going for it in this solo. There's an element of like extreme loose spontaneity. And then there's that part of the solo where Rick Beato sort of rates it 10 in Guitar Olympics. It's the playing he puts over those chords changes is outstanding. Obviously, that's worked out. That's not what he's playing over that chord change. He's worked out. It's not. He hasn't fluked that. That's something that he's worked out. But I think leading up to that section, I reckon he's just gone for it. Just see what I can do. And it's not perfect, guys. The solo is not perfect. But it's perfect for the song. It really works well. you know, Nuno has to be one of the most percussive guitar players I've ever heard. His right hand, palm muting, the way he plays with his right hand is just as important as what he's playing with his left hand. And that's with every guitarist, but Nuno just has this percussive thing. A lot of that comes down to, and he talks about it in an interview with Rick Beato, the rat pedal, the way he uses it to really push that percussiveness in the guitar. But hey, he can still do it without a rat pedal. It's in the hands, it's in his ability. And that comes down to that funk thing as well. He's got that in his blood. He's got the rhythm. He's got the feel. And he's a drummer, and he's a fantastic drummer. So, to be honest with you, when drummers play guitar, I always find they have this impeccable amount of rhythm. And Nuno is, no exception to that. I have to say, like the solo, you can't grasp it all in one listen, like I said. Well done, Nuno, for creating something innovative and reinvigorating the guitar community and guitar playing into a music scene where it's almost insignificant now. When the solo finishes, it breaks down into that section where it's basically kick drum with the guitar, and then it launches off again like a chorus until the end of the song. And amazing vocals from Gary, background vocals, outro piece. I could go on for a bit longer, but I won't, because I want to hear what you guys have got to say. And it's got an amazing ending. I give it 100 out of 10. It's one of the best songs in the last 10 years, I reckon. Rock song.
Wow. Brad score.
Yeah.
John.
Yeah, so I'll pick up where Brad was talking about. I'd have to say, Nuno's guitar tone has changed. So he wasn't really, some guys are just known for like their incredible tone, you know what I mean? And I don't think Nuno was ever really in that conversation with the great tone. His playing was great, but I mean, over the years, he, on Porno Graffiti, he used the ADA MP1, which was the same amp that the producer basically made him use it. I think Michael Wagner. And he did the Skid Row album. So I guess it was their big hit album. Was it Slave to the Grind? I think it was that their big one. But anyway, it was the same patch, the same settings, everything that Nuno used. It was just the producer loved the sound of that, and I don't blame him. It did sound great, and Porno Graffiti just sounded huge. He may have thrown the rat pedal in there too, Nuno. I'm sure he did, on there for that percussive sound. But I just don't think, in Mourning Widows or Drama Gods, I don't think his tone was ever just like this phenomenal kind of tone. But I on this album, I feel like Nuno's got like his voice and his tone now, because in some of those solos, there's certain things that tone wise that he gets out of that. He squeezes out of that guitar and amp that nobody else gets. And I hear it a lot more on this album. It's like, it's like, oh man, that's Nuno. Obviously, his playing right away, but tonally there's something with the sound of the amp. I just think he's at a good place right now with that, that Marshall that he loves, because we all know he had the signature amp and he had the Marshall behind it on the stage. He was actually using the Marshall, he wasn't using that Randall one really for a lot of the time. But anyway, so I think this song is phenomenal, like you're saying. This song I was waiting for, because I remember, because we've been waiting so long for this album, that Eddie had showed up at his house, and Nuno had mentioned that a couple of years ago, like a year, 2, 3, 4 years ago now, probably 3 years ago. Eddie died 3 years ago, but he said that Eddie showed up at his house and he had to come down from upstairs. He was working on the album, because a lot of it they recorded it at their house. There's a show that Sammy used to do here. I don't know if you guys, Rock and Roll Road Show or whatever it was on in this country. But he went to Nuno's house, which is right by the Hollywood sign, and they were recording the album there, a lot of it at the house. They even had one of those, those vocal things where it goes around your head with the foam in it. It's like a box you put your head in. So they were doing some vocals in there, and you could see his room. He had Pro Tools. He had a Kemper in there, believe it or not, Jimmy. I saw the Kemper in his in the room. He had a beautiful view over Los Angeles at night, but in there you could see the Kemper. And but he said that Eddie had showed up, and he goes, I was recording the solo for a song called Rise at the time when Eddie showed up. He goes, so I had to stop, break down what I was doing, and go downstairs and answer the gate, because Eddie was down there, and talk to him there. And he said he regrets not, Eddie wanted to hear something, and he said, I regret not, because I wanted it to be perfect. He goes, but in retrospect, he goes, now I wish I had played it for him, but it's just kind of ironic that that was the solo he was recording for Rise when Eddie showed up at his house, which I think is pretty amazing. But and the fact that it's gotten so much attention is like, I was kind of surprised at that, because I posted online somewhere. That's why and Nuno obviously reads online, guys. He reads these things because I said that, and I go, it's just listen to Peacemaker Die, stuff like that. It's the same thing he's been doing for 35 years. It's not new, folks. You know what I mean? It's like, and Nuno mentioned that in there. He said, yeah, they're the fans. They mentioned that, it's not new. It's something I've been doing for years and years and years. You know what I mean? So, so he definitely reads the comments and stuff like that about it. But at the same time, it was just so great that it got so much attention, and Beato and people like that. I mean, that I never expected this to happen. You know what I mean? Never expected this. But I just feel like we're so starved for good rock and hard rock music nowadays that, I mean, this album it came at the right time. And the fact that it is as good as it is, like we were talking before we came on the air, that you may not love every song personally on it, but there's not a bad song on this album. And they are working with outside writers this time around, which is something new for them. But I think it's a good new, because I think the songs are sharper. I mean, and they're different. And, we mentioned that they're not as funky and stuff like that. But you know what? We have a lot of albums of funky Nuno. So maybe it was time for us to just get a straight ahead heavy metal, hard rock kind of Nuno. And I agree with Brad too. It's very heavy like that. When that riff kicks in, it's like a Metallica heavy, like you said, like Fuel or something like that era of Metallica. It's definitely reminiscent of that kind of thing like that, because it's got hooks and stuff in it. The songs and the like you said, the harmonies are great too. But I would give this song a 10 out of 10 also myself. This is one of my favorite songs on the album, and it's definitely it was just a great first release, and just to give us a nice kick and look forward to the rest of the album. And I think they definitely nailed it with this one.
Brilliant, John. Brilliant, Brad and John. Thank you guys for your thoughts and opinions on this track. Jimmy.
Me. Well, Conks was talking about, Nuno's tone. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if a lot of people are like, I'm chasing Nuno's sound, but really, one of my best friends, this guy, Dave, huge Nuno fan, right? And we had Axe Effects at the same time, like many, many years ago. And he would send me, you could send files, you could send like your patch. And he would send me iterations of this Nuno patch for, kind of like the Decadence Dance type of stuff, and which was cool. But then, like the next morning, it just wouldn't sound like it. I don't know, for some reason. Then he ended up getting one of those Randall. It's like the Randall that he had, and didn't like it at all. It didn't really sound like it's supposed to. Hated it. But yeah, Nuno wasn't really known for like tone, but yeah, there's some great tone on the earlier albums. Now switching over to like, this album, I mean, Rise, I see it as, a staple in the set from now on. I mean, that's, I don't think that song, it's going to be like Decadence Dance. It's going to be like, I don't know, it's going to be in there. That's a definitive, extreme song. My only criticism though is that when I first heard it, I'm like, that's Gary. Didn't really sound like Gary, like I would expect Gary. You know what I mean? At the very beginning, it didn't. You can see that it. You can tell that it's Gary, but like not like definitive Gary for me. I mean, the solo. I mean, what can be said about the solo? It's I mean, it's not groundbreaking in the sense that there's new techniques or anything, but like Brad said, there's parts in there where it's melodic, and there's like 7 different techniques that he's using in that, and just piecing it together and making it work in a melodic type of thing, and not just shredding or whatever in that sense. When I was listening to it, the drums came to mind. The drums sounded really, really good, and I really like this new drummer guy. I like the old one. I think, what was his name?
Paul Geary.
Yes, Paul Geary. Yes, Paul was cool. but yeah, the new guy seems to fit, and I imagine it being, like Brad was saying, Nuno is a drummer, and from what I've heard, like he's a great, great drummer, and I've always sensed that, if you're in a band with a guy that's a great drummer but plays another instrument in that band, whether it's a singer, let's say like Steven Tyler, or a guitar player like Nuno, it's got to be tough being like a drummer when somebody else in your band is as good, maybe better. You know what I mean? I don't know. So it's got to be tough. But this guy, he definitely, I mean, they've had some great drummers. They had Mike Mangini,
Right.
in there, so, the drums, the drumming is great. I really like there's some backing vocals during that solo that kind of like come in, like a gang vocal, but kind of just like singing a note. It's not really words or anything, but all in all, I gotta give it a 10 out of 10. No question about that. I mean, that's a definitive extreme track. Like I said, my only criticism is that Gary doesn't sound like me sometimes in there, but that's it.
Awesome.
Real
Jimmy?
quick.
Yeah.
I was in a music store with Nuno one time, and he was playing guitar and stuff like that too. And then he jumped behind the drums and he asked, "You want to play guitar?" And I was just too intimidated to do it.
Yes, Juke, you wanted to play guitar?
Yeah, there was a bunch of people in there. He goes, "Come grab the guitar." It was like set up, and I was like, "I'm not playing a guitar in front of you, dude." This is like early on. This is right before porno graffiti came out, like right around that time, and he could play drums too, man. You are 100% right. He could definitely play.
Mm-hmm.
So
awesome.
It was funny, but I was just like, no way, man.
That's funny, man. That's funny.
Nope. Brilliant.
Yeah, it's got to be tough being a drummer, because I read Joey Kramer's book about his stint in Aerosmith and stuff, and Steven Tyler would lay into him. So I wonder, like, if Nuno lays into the, whatever his name is, Kevin, I think, and kind of like tells him, "Hey, man, I think you should play it more like this." It's got to be tough, Anyway, I'm not saying that happens, but
I would think it does. I don't know.
Does, yeah.
I think it did back with Paul Geary back in those days. I think that he was, I think he was involved in every aspect of every. No, I want the kick drum right, doing this right here.
Yeah.
But.
Awesome. Fantastic insight from the hosts. Let us know what your ranks are in the tracks. I just want to do a quick shout out. We've got Greg Roberts Tune that's joined us since we did the intro, John. Alan Toll is here, very good friend of the channel. Thank you, Alan. Fruitcake Tony and Robert Ramford. If we missed Robert Ramford, another good friend of the channel. Guys, I'm just going to back up with what you guys have said. It's an incredible opening riff, Brad. You're right. And obviously Johnny and Jim have backed that up. But what I like about it, though, is I like the beautiful melodic vocals from Gary on this track, and also the modern chorus that they're using. It's a modern chorus style that I feel that I can hear on this, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because these guys, John and Jimmy, are trying to attract young folks too, so they've got to have that kind of modern perspective happening there. It's not a classic, rock vocal chorus line. Go and check it out, folks. I like the TikTok reference too to modern popular culture, which is always a good thing. It's a relevant thing for these guys. And as you guys have said, Nuno lays it down on the solo. It's a manifesto, Brad, John, and Jimmy. It's a manifesto of a solo. It's got everything in there. I don't want to repeat what you guys said. It's not shredding. It's got everything. And, probably worth the price of the album for the opening track. I've given it a Brad score too. It's never a skip. Brad.
We're all on the same page. I think we're all going to be on the same page for most of this record, actually. So, but I'm interested to see some of the later songs, how we differentiate the rankings. So,
sure.
The second track, it was another single they released. They released this as a double A side with the song after it as well, Banshee. But the song is called Rebel, and it's got a pop element to the song, but it's a heavy riff, if that makes sense. It's got something quite different going on there. Different for extreme, but not different, because you think about, say, Waiting for the Punchline. There was a lot of darker stuff on that record. Three Sides, I mean, Warheads, it's a pretty heavy riff and stuff like that. You've got all this heavy stuff as well. But so there's a heaviness to this riff, but it's got a pop element, is what I'm trying to say. The bass on this song is right up front, and I love that. And the drums are really slamming home in this one. The verses, the breakdowns, you know, the way Gary comes in singing, his voice sounds better in this song to me than what it does in Rise. I think he's really going for it in this song vocally. Great lyrics. There's more of a showcase of Gary in this song than the previous one, in my opinion. And I love the use of the harmonics that Nuno uses in around 1 minute 11. I love that. I love the vocal melody that Gary's using with the la-las, you know, the part I mean, la 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 la. I actually really dig that. I think that's pretty cool. It's like that thing when you're writing a song. What the hell are we going to put here? La la la. That works. Leave it. You just leave it. You don't worry about it. Don't worry what people think. And it's great. Then immediately after one section, like the song sort of breaks down. The great background vocals again. Nuno's guitar solo is blistering. I love how the vocals and guitar mimic each other at the start of the solo. Like Gary's really going for it to hit those high notes that Nuno's playing. Again, Gary shouldn't get any slack for this record at all. He's singing, and he shouldn't never get slack because he's an amazing singer. Hitting those notes the way he does it, and he's very angelic with his voice. An amazing singer. Nuno's playing again, very percussive, lots of palm muting and finger tapping. You know, there's so much there that, you know, it's all power. I love the riff. I love the power of the song. The band is on fire. It's some sensational musicianship going on in this song. Great second track for the record. Again, I'm going to give it another 100 out of 10. I love it. John.
Yeah, I'll pick up where you. So what I was talking about with the tone before, this is a perfect example of that, where I think Nuno's really found his like tone voice on this album, because there's just certain things that he does that he's done on a lot of the other albums, but they just, some of the squeals and the things that the noises that he's making are just so unique to him. And on this, they're just magnified on this album. They just sound so cool. And this song is a perfect example of that. And I 100% agree with you with the melody in this song. And when I was listening to it the first time, I'm like, man, it's gonna be tough for him doing this stuff live night after night. You know what I mean? Because some of this stuff, he's really, you know, listen, I like the fact that, you know, that they don't care about the live stuff when they're making the album, because an album, I always say an album is forever. You know what I mean? You go see a gig, it's over and it's done with, you know what I mean? But an album is something that's forever. So you should really, you know, if these guys do your best stuff you can do on the album. And his voice, Gary does not on this album take that for granted. He really, unbelievable, his performance on this album. And this is a perfect example of that. I'm going to do the same thing as you. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. This is a perfect, like a 1-2 punch of Rise and Rebel. It's like, you know, right in your face. It's just like, it didn't let up at all. So, and you know, similar in the vein that they're both just heavy, hard rock songs, you know, metalish kind of hard rock songs. But like you said, with that little melodic and poppy element in there too, which is what we always loved about Van Halen, is that Eddie had the sensibility to, he knew how to write a pop, you know, hook in a song, you know, in a riff, and even in the song, you know, I think that's part of the reason why we like Extreme, because in certain, you know, you can tell their influences are where they are. You can, on this album, you can hear, I hear Brian May on a lot of the guitar solos. You know what I mean? I hear that mid-rangey, even the tone a little bit. I hear a lot of Brian May. I hear Eddie in there, and Gary Cherone. You obviously hear Freddie Mercury on there too, and some of the things he sings that a lot of people wouldn't do. You know what I mean? It wouldn't attempt to do. So, but this is a burner. I love this one too.
Brilliant. Jay, 7 over 8 is definitely in a minority. It's a skip of an album for Jay. hang around, bro. Maybe our opinions might change your mind. Mikey reckons that Nuno's on fire. Thank you for your rankings, John. Jimmy, what do you got to add, brother?
Okay, Rebel. This is where Gary starts sounding like Gary to me.
Yeah.
Okay? Like I said, the first one, I don't know, for some reason. But here's Gary. This is Gary. He's singing great. The verse and the chorus are really great, really catchy. Love the video too. There's a lot of talk about, Nuno using the Phase 90 and stuff as an homage to Eddie. There's no better homage than what Brad was talking about. He brought that up first, the tapping, like the tapping stuff that he did during that solo, during that part. The whole la 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 part, so great. Like it's just so fits. Like, like Brad was saying, like, hey man, put la 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 in there, it works. And it does. Like it's just there. It's part of the song, I love that. It was just like, it's almost like it brings it into fun. Like they're just you can tell they're having fun in a sense, right? What else? It's the solo. I mean, it's Nuno solo rips and melodic. I mean, I think that's pretty much my statement on any of these solos. I mean, they're that's kind of like, Nuno's trademark. It's ripping and it's melodic. It's not just, the other thing is I really dig the scream at the end, a nice little touch there. I am going to give this, and I'll explain, I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10 only because I have some other ones that I really, really love later on. So I just can't give it a 10. I have to, but there's some other ones that I'll give it 100 out of 10. There's some other songs coming up that are just incredible. So
no problem.
No problem.
Yeah. No problem. No problem, bro. You're more than happy to do that and welcome to do that. Look, I'm not going to repeat what you guys said. The toms sound really nice though on this track. I like the drum sound coming in a little bit on this track. As you guys have mentioned, the harmonics and the dive bombs, we love that, and it's adding that element, to that quote that we showed earlier that we'll show during halftime for you folks that may not be aware of it. It's always a treat to hear that on a good rocking album, on a good rocking song. I like that gritty feel that we're getting on this song. I like that gritty feel. It's fantastic. Jimmy, I'm with you, bro. It's a 9 out of 10 for me. Never a skip. Brad.
So the next track is Banshee, which is another single they released or video as well. And it's another tough as nails guitar riff, in my opinion. The verses are very catchy. And it's got, again, another very cool vocal melody, great background vocals, and the lyrics are great. The chorus, they've got this knack of writing very catchy choruses, and that's that pop element creeping in there. They're trying to be writing popular sort of catchy hook lines in sort of rock element songs. That element's kind of lost in bands a bit these days, which is so cool. The riff is very repetitive, but not in a bad way. It's very cool the way they've done it. The guitar solo is very quirky, suits the song perfectly. It's got a wonderful ending, and the palm muting techniques is, the way he does that stuff is, no one really does it like Nuno. The lead ups to the amazing tapping section, which end the solo, is really cool as well. Then there's like a double chorus out. Look, it's got another fantastic ending to the song. We talk about flow of albums on when we rank tracks, Andrew, all the time, and 3 absolute bangers out of the gate for the first 3 songs on this album. I gave this one a 10 out of 10. It's never a skip. John.
Yeah, so this one I think is the first little bit of a turn they took from the first 2. I think this one's more Aerosmith type of influenced, a little bit like the Toys in the Attics Rocks era Aerosmith kind of vibe with this one. I agree with you. It's a catchy melody and stuff like that. I'm not crazy about the chorus, the Banshee over and over again. But the guitar playing, listen, like I said, I don't think it's a bad song, but for me, I would say this is about an 8 out of 10 for me. This one, this is definitely not one of my favorites. I think the first two are stronger than this one.
Yep.
But I don't dislike it, but it's not one of my favorites. But you can't love them all equally.
Yep.
I guess.
Makes sense, Johnny. Jimmy.
Yeah. Pretty much what Conk said. Yeah, I mean, it's this is the second song in a row where Gary sounds like Gary, and will continue to sound like Gary. Thank God. I'm not. Yeah, like Conks was saying, like the whole Banshee. Don't make me sing, but it's all right. I mean, like if they played it live, cool, man. I don't hate it. It's a good tune. Kind of catchy. Great solo and all that. Just a hair, just I don't know, unremarkable in a sense. I don't know. I gave this one a 7 out of 10. I don't think I would skip it, but 7 out of 10. Like Conk said, they can't all be decadent stance or whatever. So there we go.
Look, I got to agree with you guys too. Banshee, I love the bass. You're hearing the bass a little bit on this. And I've got interesting chorus. It's an interesting chorus. And when I write interesting, when I first hear something, it's not necessarily like really interesting. It's like, kind of, when I use the word interesting. I like the tone on the solo, Brad. He's got a different tone going on this solo. Banshee. Look, I'm the same as Jimmy. 7 out of 10. Never a skip though, Brad.
Well,
I'd like to point out one thing first, Brad. In the chat, John ZD351, he gave Banshee a 10 out of 10. He does. I agree with him on one part here. The chord change under the "Falling from Grace" lyric is a great hook. That's a great hook, I think. I'm with you. I just don't like the chorus. That's the Banshee, man.
Yeah.
I don't think that's
Same here.
That's what it comes down to. Anyway, back to you, Brad.
No, that's fine. It's good to highlight people in the chat. That's great, John. I think the next song, "Other Side of the Rainbow," is a complete spin away from the first three songs. It's a beautiful 12-string intro. I love the bass in this song, the bass guitar. The drums sound fantastic as well, really snappy. Gary's vocal in this song is outstanding. This is Gary at his best in this song. Vast contrast from the first three songs, and I'm hearing some wonderful melodies, fantastic chorus, and great lyrics. The bridge section highlights Gary's amazing vocal ability. He's really dynamic. He knows when to lay back. He knows when to push. He knows how to use his voice amazingly. And I mean, you think about it, he's been doing this sort of singing for a long time, and he's still got it. Like singers that get to a mature age, when they've been pushing their voice like he has his whole career, their voice starts to get a little bit cooked unless they're working on it all the time. So I think he's actually done an amazing job, and I hope he can pull it off live every night without sort of too much fail, because it's amazing. It's a great song. It's got another cool solo from Nuno. I love his style in this one. This is actually, you talk about technically and mind-blowing solos for Rise, but I'm more, and Andrew, you know this about me, I'm more about like melody and stuff like that with songs, and even guitar solos. I tend to lean to solos that have got more melodic stuff going on than technique or flashiness, and there's nothing wrong with that. I love it too, but this is my favorite solo on the album so far.
What are you doing? Stop reading my notes.
Yeah. Sorry, Andrew.
You bastard!
I think this is a perfect example of Nuno's ability to just play perfectly for the song.
Yep.
And some people might disagree with me and think, no, Rise is the duck's guts. Nothing else compares. Technically and mind-blowingness wise, probably you're right. But I think this song, you talk about great guitar solos. They're not necessarily the most technical solos most of the time. He's playing a lot of technical stuff in this solo as well. I especially love the trills he does in the Andrew. You probably know the part I'm talking about there. He's got a bluesy feel in this solo, and I think that's why I love it, because I'm a blues guy. I love blues. And the song ends like most of the songs at this point, a double chorus is out. This album, you know, I don't know. This song fits perfectly on the album so far. 4th song in, and it's an incredible song. I gave it 10 out of 10. Never a skip. John.
All right. So yeah, I think this is a brilliant song. Right off the bat, I think it was genius to drop this song right like the day or two before the album dropped, because I think it was a huge reminder. Hey, folks, remember us? Remember Wholehearted? Remember More Than Words? That's us, and we're back all these years later. And I just think that from everything about this song is perfect. I think that the 12 string, it just sounds so nice. It's so crisp what he's playing on there. I think there's hooks everywhere in this song, like that. When they double Gary's vocals, better to have loved than lost. When they double it, like 2 tracks have been singing in unison, I think it just sounds great. The harmonies on here are killer. And then, like you said, this solo it's one of my top 3 solos on the album too. I guess he's using that Nelly, the single coil guitar on that one. And I mean, I was talking about how, you know, his influences are on this album. I feel like a Brian May influence even on this solo too. I just think from start to finish, this song, it's just a perfect pop rock song. And I'll give this one a 10 out of 10.
Jimmy, well done. John?
Very nice, John. Right. This was very 3 sides to me. Like, I was listening to it, I'm like, this could be on 3 sides. And you know, I absolutely love 3 sides. Most people love 3 sides because of like Warheads or Peacemaker Die or something, but I love it because of you know, because of that stuff too. But this is very. If you know me, I don't really like acoustic-y stuff on albums, but this works, right? I mean, like John was saying, very wholehearted, you know, and I think let me look at my notes here. For some reason, you know, like when I like it when Nuno plays acoustic, you know, with the 12 string or whatever. Like I said, I'm not, you know, when I hear some acoustic stuff on an album, it's usually a skip, right? But no, this was great. This was fantastic. Like I said, I pictured it being like it fit right in there with 3 sides, and I love 3 sides. And you know, you got like I mean, you know,
in the chat, somebody was asking in the chat what you were referring to with 3 sides.
Oh, yeah, 3 sides to every story. Yeah, if you don't have that album, go get it, or you know, listen to it on, you know, whatever you have. It's a masterpiece. When I met Gary in when was that? When was the Van Halen 3 tour? 98, right? Yeah, I met Gary in Hartford in 98. And I told him, you know, I have to tell you 3 sides to every. I was like, that was my chance. I have to tell you 3 sides to every story, masterpiece. That's all I said to him. Anyway, so this fits right on in there, man. It's a great song. I mean, nothing new that Brad and John, you know, haven't said. It's a simple song. There's not, you know, craziness going on, but it just fits in there. Like I see it, you know, the whole thing with 3 sides is that it was supposed to be like 3 sides, you know, side 1, like the heavy stuff, side, you know. Anyway, this absolutely fit into that 3rd side, you know. So 10 out of 10 for me, man. Like I could see this going into rotation, like in my Apple Music, just, you know, listening to it, you know.
Yeah. Look, I got to agree, and you know, I've already revealed a little bit about my opinion on the song during Brad's introduction, folks. I've got to agree with Brad. It's the best solo on the album. That's my notes here, and I'll tell you why I think it is. John, Jimmy, and Brad, and folks in the chat. And this is no disrespect to any of the other solos that Nuno's done, but all the other solos on this album could be standalone pieces of music. The great thing I think about this solo is this solo is for the song, Brad. you know, and that's what I like about this. It's just right. It's just the amount of greatness you want to hear. It's the type of song, Jimmy, that I would love to hear in the 90s because of that radio friendly aspect to the song, which is not a bad thing. But I could imagine myself cruising Brad in the early 90s listening to this song and being blown away by it back then as I am today. I love the harmonics and the harmonies. Sorry, I love the harmonies, not the harmonics. 10 out of 10. That solo is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Brad.
Perfect.
Great. I don't know what else to say other than next song, Small Town Beautiful.
Thank you, brother.
Lovely acoustic sound. They've really, like Jimmy, I think you mentioned that nailed the acoustic sound of the 12-string, and John, yourself as well. I think that Nuno, being a producer at this point in his career, he's obviously he knows how to get good sounds with vocals, acoustic instruments. The drums sound great. The acoustic guitar sounds great. Angelic vocals from Gary. It's great to hear Gary and Nuno sing together again. I've always loved that in the past, previous records, and I think Nuno sings a lot on this record, a lot more than probably previous records. Catchy melody through the verses and an equally catchy chorus line. I love the drum sound on this album, and this song is great drum sound as well. It's got a very tight, punchy sound, but it's solid. It's a big sound. Great drumming and bass playing. They're right in the pocket. The great guitar solo from Nuno sounds very much like a single coil vibe. Maybe it's that Nelly guitar that he's got. I'm not sure. But again, the song has a wonderful sort of acoustic feel and sound to it. And the band's really in the pocket. I gave this one 8 out of 10. Never a skip. John.
Yep.
Yeah. So one thing that surprised me, maybe the thing that surprised me the most about this album is how much acoustic stuff there is on it. I didn't expect all of this stuff like that. And I have to say, I love this song. I think it's just a great, I never skip this one. My wife is a huge Extreme fan. She doesn't like hard rock or heavy metal, but she always loved Extreme, even their heavy stuff. She just loves them. And this is one that she plays in the car. It's on all the time. And this is one of the 3 or 4 that she constantly plays. And I don't disagree with her. I just think that, I think it's another cool nod back to like this one, you know, in a way that more than words, because Gary and Nuno are singing a lot, you know, a lot of it, and just, you know, saying, hey, folks, remember us, the guys that, you know, that you thought that's all we played is like acoustic stuff, like, you know, and then you bought the Porno Graffiti and you heard the rest of it and you threw it away, or you gave it away because you thought it was going to be a mellow duo with acoustic guitars, but it really isn't, you know. But this song is, I just think it's a great, great song and great melody in it. You know, everything about it I really like. So I give this one a 10 out of 10.
Wow.
My turn. Small Town Beautiful. Right. Great love song. You know, I'm not going to sing it, but I love the part where he's like, what's beautiful is you don't even know. Right. Great line. And it's a great melody, you know, I mean, leading up to that and how it works with like the previous vocals and stuff. Andrew mentioned something that I've got on another song, but it also fits for this one, where I also had like that idea that it was like, you know, it kind of felt like it was a 90s, you know, like song that you might hear on the radio, you know, in like the early 90s, 91, 92, you know, 93, around there. And I love the sentiment and the idea behind it. Again, you know, Nuno's killing it on it, and you know, Gary just sounds like Gary. Thank God. You know, it's I could see why Lisa would like it, Johnny. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10.
Fantastic. I'm not going to repeat what you guys have said. One of the things that I love about this song, and it become apparent to me through doing these rankings with Brad and the Rock Professor, was understanding the contrasts and hearing the contrast, John and Jimmy, between songs on an album and how that's important, because it gives you that tonal variation on a whole with the album. And I think this is one of the great things about this song, Put Here. It's given you that tonal rest that you need for a 52-minute album. And for that reason, I'm going to give it 8.5 out of 10. It's a beautiful song. I love the sentiment behind it, and there's some other acoustic songs coming up that we can talk a little bit about. Never a skip though, Brad. It's never a skip, but I like the way that they've put this in for that contrast, which is so critical. Brad.
Typical Extreme. Every song sort of throw you in down the off the road, so you don't know where you're going. That's the thing. We'll do this song, the next song, guys, and then we'll maybe look at some pictures. I think get people.
Sure, brother.
Oh yeah, the pictures. Yeah.
So we'll do the mask. The mask is the next song, and it's a great drum and bass intro. I love a good drum and bass intro. Interesting vocal from Nuno. I'm pretty sure it's Nuno at the start anyway. And Gary comes in and takes over as well. Some cool lyrics. It's driven by the bass and drums, this song. I'll say that. The guitar's in the second verse, pretty straightforward. Chorus line is catchy. The solo Nuno plays is exactly for the song, needs what it needs to be. I like the second half of the solo where he opens up and he's playing really fast. Overall, I think it's a good, well-written song. It fits perfectly in the position on the album. I gave it 7.5 out of 10. John.
So I love this song. From the first time I heard it, I love it. I think it's one of the best songs in the album. It's one of my favorites. I like that vocal where he's kind of like almost like a hillbilly, like a Marilyn Manson hillbilly or something, when Nuno's singing that song with the, things we ain't, whatever he said there. I think I just, like you said, and I think when Rip Off My Mask and Show Me, I think it's very, it sticks in your head. You know what I mean? That whole part. And I think the solo, I hear a little more like that Brian May or something in there. Just, you could just tell he ate a lot of Brian May for breakfast growing up, and I just think it's a great one. And, I'll point out something about Extreme. Like, I think I liked Extreme initially because I like Van Halen, and I feel like they have a lot of that elements to them too, with the melodic and the hooks and the pop part of it too, but still heavy guitars and stuff. But, Nuno's not afraid to let the bass breathe and the drums. Whereas Eddie, as Van Halen went on, and on the six pack, he let it breathe more. But as he took more control, there was rarely a spot where the bass opened up a song or the verse would just be the bass and drums playing. The guitar, there were no holes left in there. It was Van Halen was the guitar was always there. Whereas like Extreme, Nuno lets the bass shine. And there's a few other songs here where it's just Pat playing as we get on in the album, later on in the album, which is kind of cool, refreshing. I like to hear that when it's just the bass playing and the drums together without the guitar, giving it holes. I like holes in music like that, where it's just not a wall of guitar all the time. So I give Nuno credit for that, not, having to be heard every minute, and I think this is one song where it's pretty obvious because the bass is very dominant in this song, but I love this one. I'll give this one a 9 out of 10.
Brilliant. Jimmy.
All right, The Mask. Right. In the very beginning, I'm like, who the hell's singing? But it sounded cool, right? And I even tried Googling it, right? Like The Mask, Extreme, whatever, and I couldn't find anything. But I figured it had to be either Nuno or somebody, and like Brad said, I'm with Conks on this, man. I absolutely love this song. There is a caveat. I'm not sure, like that the whole. I like the part where he's singing, take the mask off or whatever, but where there's, I don't know. Sometimes the lyrics don't work for me, but sometimes they do. Again, this sounds a lot 9 Inch Nails to me, and I'm not a 9 Inch Nails fan, right? But this this is really cool, and I loved it. I give it an 11 out of 10. It's one of my favorites on this album.
Yeah. I liked it too, and I like the fact that it's reminding us all of songs. When I first heard it, it reminded me of a song called "I'm on a Mexican Radio" by Wall of Voodoo, which is a band that came out in the early '80s. And yeah, and I kind of like that. It's a muscular song, and I got to agree with Brad. I like that percussion that's coming through on this song that adds that depth for the lyrics to go behind. And I love the lyrics too, because the lyrics are about, you know, the fakery that happens so much in the world today, you know, and, you know, yeah, and all the fakes out there, and everything is a fake and a forgery, you know. And we're not getting political, ladies and gentlemen. We're just, you know, I got to agree with Johnny and Jim too. You know, it's a great song. I love it. I love the contemporariness of the song, as well as the linking back to, you know, a riff or a song that, you know, is 30 years old. I'm sure it's a rip-off. Never mind. 10 out of 10, Jimmy, John, Brad, never a skip.
Wow. All right, gentlemen. Photo time, Andrew.
Oh,
yes. All right. Hold on, folks. Let me tee it up. We got some interesting photos here, ladies and gentlemen. So this week's photos are brought to you by these guys here, the Rock Professor, Brad, and Andrew.
Oh, my goodness.
It's back when we were touring. That's you know, that's drugs, cookers, and cocaine, brother. There, isn't it? Those are the effects of all that. A bit of fun. What's going on here?
Oh!
Somebody drew sunglasses on my face in this picture. I don't know. You can tell.
Those aren't real. Yeah, those aren't real.
But that's the prototype N4. Believe it or not, that was Nuno's main guitar. I dig
that. I dig the white N4. That looks great with the red outline.
He changed those stickers on there, but that's his original one.
I like that.
And I didn't realize this, like I was telling you guys, till a couple of years ago, because I was looking at this picture and I matched it up to right before he retired, the original one, because the original one was beaten down. He stopped taking it out, but this is it, because I matched up the wood grain on it, and this one was brand new. You can see up by where the cutaway is there on the left-hand horn there. You can see his bloody fingerprints on there. He mentioned that to me. You can see my bloody finger. You know, he already started to age and relic it at that point. This is like, I think 1990.
Those two spots up there, you mean?
Yeah, the two spots up there. That's blood prints, thumb prints. He told me that. I guess he was starting to relic it already at that point. And this is probably a year later. This is probably 91. I think I was a little hammered. This is when they were playing clubs all over the place. It might have been right before or around the time Porno Graffiti was coming out. I was kind of an early adopter of Extreme. I mean, I didn't live in Massachusetts, so I wasn't that early, like 86, 87 or whatever like that. But I jumped onto them pretty early. I liked the first time I heard them. I knew I liked them, and so I started going to see them all the time. And they were really a bunch of great guys. I have great pictures of Gary too, a couple funny ones, but I just can't find them right now. And here's Nuno playing, and that was the same day he was letting me play the guitar in that other picture there, the bloody thumbprints. But I mean, look how clean that guitar was and new. That was his number one.
So have you noticed, folks, that Nino's wearing John's T-shirt? See, it says Conklin.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's Conk, man.
Yeah. So you know, Nuno's a fan of John Conklin, folks. You heard it here on the 5150 show.
Who isn't, man? Who isn't?
And if you look in the background, you'll see a giant like drawing of the headstock. They're like a blueprint drawing of the headstock for the N4. Yeah. So Nuno was here. This was in Connecticut, Jimmy, believe it or not. This is over by it's called a place called East Coast Music Mall.
Oh, I was going to say East Coast Music. Yeah, man.
Exactly. So Nuno was there, and a Washburn rep was there from Washburn too. So, you know, Nuno was great. So he let let me play the guitar. And I loved it so much. I just thought it was so unique and different than any other guitar I had ever played. And it was when I was young, I was probably like 23 years old. And I wrote a check right there and put a deposit down with the Washburn rep right there that night. And to get one of the, and luckily I did. I got one of the early Stevens extended cutaway, the handmade ones, the Davies.
Hold on, folks. Hold on, folks. After the picks, we got something to show you. So hold on. That's the band there, Brad, John, and Jimmy, looking pretty cool.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Good recent picture. That's Nuno with his Nelly guitar, Washburn. It's Telly. That's his Washburn Telecaster, I guess you could put it.
And that's the quote that Brad was talking about there earlier.
Yeah. Just a couple of cool pictures. That's all of his touring guitars, I think, from what I know.
Did you guys see, because he played with Rihanna at that Super Bowl. Did you see that red N4 that he had? The plain red? That was nice, man. I love the solid colors.
Yeah.
So guys, I just want to point out something. So you got the guitar roll cover up right there. So if you look at the guitar, you see that's the 4N. That was the one he bought off a fan, I guess, and it was an original Davies also. But you'll see that the little black pieces of tape there, that's Atlantic Entertainment or Atlantis Entertainment. That's Nuno's company. I guess he manages bands and promotes them and stuff. Atlantis Entertainment. But if you look at the top of the horn there, you'll see a white, a yellow, and a black stripe, and those are for Eddie. That's an homage to Eddie, because Eddie, the only colored stripes Eddie, I guess, ever really had on any of his guitars were white, black, and yellow. And so he's paying homage by putting a white, black, and yellow stripe on his guitar up there in the top one. So that's an homage, or whatever, to Eddie there.
I always thought that. I was like, is that like some striping on the horn there?
Yeah. He said that's why he did it. And then he puts the feather on there for balance. I guess it keeps the guitar balanced. You take the feather off, it's too light. And if you put two feathers on, it's too heavy. He said something like that. I don't know.
You can really see the wear on. That's like John said, that he got that guitar off a fan. He bought that one off a fan, which was it the first production one, John? Is that correct?
I don't think this one is. I think this is just. I know he's got that one now too. The 001, the production one. But this is. I think this is just a one he bought off a fan. I don't think this is it's a Davies, but it's not one of the. I don't know if it's one of the lower ones.
So that awesome. Guitar in itself is it's not an N4, it's a 4N, because it's the mirrored version, he reckons, of what his N4 is. So pretty clever guy, actually, the way he does things. But there's a bit of humor and a bit of tongue in cheek a lot of the time. I think sometimes you can take him the wrong way.
Yeah. John, we've got you isolated, brother.
All right, ready?
Oh, yeah. There you go, man.
Wow.
I love that ebony. Wow.
Yeah. So if you look at the ebony on this, you could tell back then. So this is a N4 Davies. This is an early one. This was the serial number is 910410. This is the one I put the deposit on that night. So it's the 910410. It's 1991. 04 is for April, and it was the 10th one made in April of 91. So I don't know how many they were making a month. I don't think it could have been too many, because these at this point were still being handmade by Stephen Davies. That's why they call them Davies, the early ones. But if you look at that ebony, I mean, it's like a piece of slate. It's like literally, it doesn't even look like wood. I mean, it's just, it's amazing. This guitar is, how many years old now? It's like 30, I don't know. 32 years old. Yeah, exactly. So, and it's a beautiful, neck, jumbo frets. You can see, like I said, the Stevens extended cutaway there. It's got a 59 Duncan in the neck, and it's got the Bill Lawrence, which is an amazing pickup. I love this. This is, I think, another reason why his sound is pretty percussive, because the the Bill Lawrence pickups are kind of percussive sounding pickups, I think too. So, and the originals had Kahlers on them. They didn't have Nuno swapped it out and put Floyd on his, but this is a Kahler Steeler, I guess. And you can see on I don't know if you can see it right there, Kahler. And I left this all original. So this one goes up and down, it goes up and down. So the bar goes up a little bit and down. And let's see, here's the see the headstock.
Wow.
You can see. So Nuno, I don't know if he did it on the fore end, but on his original, he left the nut from the Kahler on the original, and you can see where the strings like slide through there. You can see them right there.
Yep.
Yeah, and I was telling these guys, which I think is kind of cool, is that if you don't have an Allen key, it is slotted so that you could put a screwdriver and loosen it up with the screwdriver right there too, which is kind of cool. And it's got Grovers on it, and then the way the back, the neck attaches is bolted on, so it's got the extended cutaway. It's an alder body. It's pretty lightweight. It just looks really cool. That headstock is pretty sick too.
Yeah.
And the scarf joint, as you were saying before, guys, right there on the neck. But and it's a great sounding guitar. And I even at the time, because Nuno used to use this D'Addario strap or whatever that they used to sell.
I used to have those. Yeah, I used to use those.
Yeah, so I left it on because that's what I think he still may even use them, to be honest with you. But this is a guitar that I will never ever sell. I mean, I've sold some guitars stupidly that I shouldn't have sold, but this I won't make that mistake with this one. I love this guitar. Everything about it. It's so cool. I was saying that it's very small though. Nuno's like a small guy. He's like 5'8", and this guitar is tiny. It really is. So I remember Meatloaf played one of these guitars. You ever see Meatloaf?
Oh my God! You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
You remember that
on one of those tours, and Meatloaf was a big boy, and this thing looked like
Yeah,
like a banjo. It was so small on him, but
Conks, you have to do one modification to that thing, man. You got to put that. I love that white N4 with the red out, dude. That looked hot.
I used to have the stickers on. I just peeled them off. Now, I took it out of the case. So it was in the case for a long time, and I hadn't played.
Did it come with stickers?
It didn't, but I got the stickers. But then they were kind of peeling, so I just kind of feel I should I'll get another one and throw it on at some point. But
those white ones look great, man.
Yeah, I agree.
Nice.
Yeah,
it's never a sell.
A great
never
guitar.
a sell.
Never a sell. You got it.
That's good. That's good.
Thank you, brother, for showing us that. We were folks before we went live. John was showing us that, and that's one of the reasons why we were a little bit late, because for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I've got a real quick show and tell, Andrew.
Hold on, brother.
Very cool.
Tell us, bro. What's the story behind that?
I've seen Nuno play a few times, and he was playing at the Espy in St Kilda with his, I think it was solo. He was doing a Washburn tour, small venue, and he come out into the crowd, and we were chatting, and I got some photos with him, which I'll find, Andrew, and I'll send to you at some point. And I asked him to. I brought this along because I thought, what am I going to get him to sign? I don't want him to sign. I don't want to carry my guitar through, nothing like that. And I only had Les Paul, so the scratch plate's never been on it. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to take my scratch plate and ask him if he doesn't mind signing it. And he goes,
yeah,
not a problem. And he signed it. And then he goes, oh, shit, you didn't get a photo of me signing it, did you? And I said, no. He goes, to my partner at the time, he goes, come over here and take a photo, and we'll pretend we're re-signing it, and Brad can look shocked on it. So, yeah. That's the story behind it. But yeah, he's a funny guy and a great player. But I've seen him play with Extreme and solo as well. Just amazing.
Brilliant. Folks, when Brad digs out that photo, we'll attach it here on the channel, and he'll update it on his Instagram. If you're not following Brad on Instagram, folks, it's really easy, at Brad Cook Music. Yep. Go and follow him there, and you'll keep up to date with everything that Brad's doing, the Brad Cook Trio's doing, and everything here on the channel as well. It's all there, Brad Cook Music, Instagram.
Thanks, Andrew. Thank you. All right, next song, gentlemen.
Next song, brother. Yeah.
Thicker Than Blood. Big slamming drum intro. I put the song reminds me of something that Nuno did in a solo project. I think it was a Mourning Widows song. I'd have to go back and listen to the album, but very catchy verse and equally catchy chorus. A big tough guitar sound. Again, Nuno's got this amazing ability to do really quirky guitar solos, and it's a very quirky thing he's doing in this song, solo wise. And I love when Nuno uses an octave pedal, and that's this song. I don't know if you guys remember Waiting for the Punchline album. I used to love that album. I used to listen to it more than 3 sides for a long time because I just loved the guitar tones, the octave pedal use, the whole bit was fantastic. It really fattens up the solo, and I love the a cappella sort of ending, the little bit at the end that's like a cappella. I gave this a 7.5 out of 10. Never a skip, gents. Johnny.
Yeah. So this one, at first I didn't like it. It has grown on me. It sounds like more of a modern kind of, I don't want to say like Seven Duster. It's more of a modern kind of feel to it, which is cool, but it has grown on me for certain things, like you're saying the octave pedal. Yeah. Is he using a not octave pedal? What did you just say he was using on the?
I'm pretty sure it's an octave pedal.
Is it an octave pedal?
What's octave pedal? You used to anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. So I initially didn't take to it, but the more and more that I listen to it, I like it better now. I would give it a 7 out of 10 too. It's not one of my favorite songs on the record, though. I will say that, but I would give it a 7 out of 10 maybe.
Jimmy.
I like the groove of this tune. Great backing vocals. Those are always important. Those guys sing great together. Other than that, I mean, it's a good song. Hold on, what do I have here? Like John said, it's a little bit of a departure from the extreme that we know, and outside of like Gary's vocals, it takes a little bit getting used to. I give it a 7 out of 10.
Gents, we're on the money here. We're on the money on this track. For me, there's a little bit of 90s Rage Against the Machine going on in here too on this track. I got a cool song, 7 out of 10. Not much going on here for me, folks. On to the next track.
That's pretty much what I had, yeah.
So the next track, because we'll rush through that one, we'll get to the next one. Save Me. Save Me. It's got a dreamy sort of clean guitar tone to start the song, and the chunky guitar comes in, the song sort of takes off, and the bass and drums sort of follow the song. Great vocal, lyrics are very clever. I'm hearing a very early sort of 2000s vibe for me, like late 90s, early 2000s I'm hearing. Nice pinch harmonics around the 1 minute, 25 minute mark. Musically, I'm hearing, shoot me down if I'm wrong, Black Label Society, Zakk Wylde.
I have that too, Brad.
Yeah. And vocals are right up front in the mix of this song. Great backing vocals. The solo has a really squishy guitar tone and some outstanding tapping and palm muting, and ends, very Zakk Wylde to me. There's Bill Lawrence pickups, as you mentioned, John. They've got a particular sound, and they squish up well as being percussive. And they squeal intensely, don't they? They squeal very, because
they definitely do.
One of my mates had an N4, and the thing was so easy to squeal on, do harmonic pinches, and that used to be insane. I've given it, because I love Black Label Society, I've given it 8 out of 10, never a skip. John.
Yeah, so I could definitely see the Black Label Society. I mean, I think he did hang around with Zakk a lot, right, over the last couple of years.
Oh, yeah, it's true. Yeah.
again, the lyrics are clever on this one too, and I do think the guitar solo is very cool in this song. I would give this one a 7 out of 10. Also, not one of my favorites, but it's another one that I wouldn't skip over. I do like it. I was initially the intro. I was like, I didn't know if I was gonna like it the first like minute with the Rosemary's Baby. It's like like that. It's just kind of like this dark kind of with the cleaner guitar on there. But then when it kicked in, I was like, oh, okay, I could definitely get into this. But I give it a 7 out of 10.
For me, this is some of the heaviest extreme I've ever heard. When it kicks in, it's some of the heaviest. Like if you just played me that track, and no vocals or anything. If it was just the music, I would have sworn it was some Zakk Wylde project because of those pinch harmonics and stuff that I've got here. I dig the concept. I dig the lyrics. I think there's a wah or something at the end of the solo. Is there a wah in there? I thought I heard a wah or something. I don't know, just a little bit of maybe like a tremolo, like a envelope filter. I don't know. Anyway, I liked it. I gave it a 9 out of 10.
Interesting.
But yeah,
you guys
definitely a Zakk Wylde feel to that. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. You guys are talking about things that can make squeal. This banjo here can make things squeal too.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Back to business. Look, I love the chug. I love the chug, and the chug is exactly what you guys are saying. It's going back to the Black Label. Yeah, it's got that chug. Got to agree with Jimmy here. It's a heavy song for extreme, and I don't know if I like it. And now I'm going to be careful here. Gary's vocals are amazing on this track, so because of that, it's a 7 out of 10. But yeah, dark, chuggy song. It may be a song, chaps, before I flick it back to Brad, that I might like Brad later on when I listen to it more. Bear in mind that I've only heard it, less than a dozen times. So, yeah, as Jimmy said at the intro, it's not an album that we're completely familiar with. Brad.
Well, the next song is Hurricane, and counts in with that great sort of acoustic intro. Nice vocal sound. It's fantastic when Gary comes in singing. Sounds wonderful. Very mellow vibes I've got. This is very much a vocal song for me. It's a nice use of orchestration in the song as well. Good melody, great acoustic guitar solo. I think what he's done there is fantastic. Lots of space in this song. And, if you're a professional musician and you're writing songs, sometimes leaving space in a song is more important than cluttering it with noise. And they've really hit the nail on the head with this. You can really hear the room on the guitar microphone. I love that. If you really listen closely, you're hearing ambience in the room on the acoustic. It's a definite twist with this album. As it gets deeper into the tracks, you sort of never really know what to expect on an extreme album the first listen through. You're not sure what to expect. I enjoyed the song. I gave it 7 out of 10. John.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Once again, I think this one is a little, it's less commercial and less hooky. So I think this is like a deeper acoustic cut. The other ones are just accessible. The first time you hear pretty much every other acoustic song on the album, it's like it grabs you right away because of the hooks. This one, you gotta stick with. But if you do, it's a good song. I'm glad they put it on there because it kind of expands the album that way too. It's like it's not just everyone's not just a hooky, catchy pop one. It's a little deeper type of cut, this one, and I think the guitar playing is just great, and I think that the solo is cool too because it's not like jumping to an electric guitar on this one like the other songs pretty much he does. So I'd give this one a 7 out of 10.
Hurricane. This is the most more than words type song. There's other acoustic stuff on on the album, like as we've covered, and there's even another one that we haven't gotten to yet. But this one is the most for me. It just sounds more. It's like the most more than word because there's no. It's just vocals and guitar. There's a little bit of orchestration, but there's no bass and drums, right? From what I can hear. And there's a little bit of like some keyboards or whatever or orchestration in there, but I kind of like pictured him. I kind of pictured that More Than Words video where they're kind of like black and white and playing, and they're playing this song in my head, But it's good, I gave it an 8 out of 10 for that.
Yeah, again, folks, we're on the money here. John ZD351 saying 7 out of 10, no complaints. It's a pretty standard song, I have to agree. It's that song, that I said earlier on that we become accustomed to when we listen to an album. It's that song that gives you space, gives you the break, the interlude, between the next couple of songs that are coming up. And this song's definitely that song that's doing it. It's doing its job on the album. 7 out of 10 from me, guys. Never a skip. Brad.
Right, so we're all on the money there. The next song is X Out. And Nuno's no stranger to sort of adding a little bit of an electronica feel to his solo stuff and things like that. And it's sort of crept in now to extreme. And you can hear a little bit of that creeping in now. There's also a slight, and I'll say it more respectfully, maybe to the drumming, Zeppelin feel, especially, the way the drums are sort of mic'd and the sound and the feel. They're going for more of a bonzo sort of feel, but there's an electronic thing driving this song. Gary sings exceptionally well on this song. Very clever lyrics. Like I said, very driven by electronic and drums. Very exotic guitar solo. The end of the solo is my favorite part. Really winds up beautifully. Again, towards the end of the album, another twist, another sort of different sort of thing going on here. I gave it 7.5 out of 10, and never a skip, gents. Johnny.
Yeah, so this is one of those where as you're going through an album, you figure, oh, okay, we're getting later into the album, and there's going to be a couple just filler songs in here. But I think this one's really, really good. I like this one a lot. I'll be honest with you. There's one thing I don't like about it is that chorus that says X out, X out. That's the only thing I don't like about that. I wish that wasn't there. I think it doesn't need. I know it's the title of the song, but I just don't like the way that
need it.
It doesn't sound good in there. Just X out, X out. It's kind of, but I love the way they married the electronic, and because it's not overpowering, it's not overdone, and I didn't have to worry about it because I knew the big guitar was coming back in. You know what I mean? And I think the lyrics are great, and I think the vocals are phenomenal, and the chorus, it does have a great hook to it. It is catchy, if you listen to it. So I give this one a 9 out of 10.
Yep.
Okay, X Out. This is something that reminded me that it could be on Waiting for the Punchline. It's just a little bit more modernish, extreme in a sense, and it kind of reminded me of like There Is No God off that album in a sense. The other thing is that I could totally see this being on Van Halen 3. That I could totally see, Eddie coming up with that, electronic line or whatever, that keyboards, whatever that is. It just felt like Van Halen 3 to me. And, I am a fan of Van Halen 3, so I'm not going to, I need to say that. I agree, I gave it a high score, but I do agree with Conks that X Out part has to go. So because of that, I gave it a 9.5 out of 10. But yeah, it did remind me of Van Halen 3 a little bit.
Andrew.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we love doing this, because the opinions and highlights from our co-hosts give you a bit of an idea or something, a thought that you haven't thought of. I never made that connection Jim, but in my mind now, I'm hearing it, and I think you're right, 100%. So I gave the song 8 out of 10. It's an interesting song. The solo's fantastic, and as Brad said, I love the interplay and the editing with the acoustic guitar in it. With that's going on. Smart. It's always clever to see or hear that happen. And I love the dovetailing of the vocals in the song as well. That really works. I gave it an 8 out of 10, like I said. But I'm quite keen to go back and check this out with the idea that it could have fitted Brad on Van Halen 3.
Yeah, one last point I'd like to make, if I can, on this song. As I was driving and listening today, as a matter of fact, I was listening to it, and I'm like listening to Gary Cherone's voice, and I'm like, I mean, how could this guy not have been successful in Van Halen? I'm like, listen to this. I go, this band is obviously perfect. This is home for him, obviously. So they just gel and they fit so well together. But I'm like, listen to him sing in his range. I mean, and just like, he just sounded phenomenal. And I just think back to Van Halen 3, what could have been if they didn't tune to pitch, if they tuned a half step down, like they did, doing Extreme. And it's just amazing that his voice has aged so well over these, last 20 plus years, 25 years, that, it's different, but it still sounds great. And it's I thought the same thing on the last album, that song Last Hour. I mean, he was killing it on that song. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like, how is he not successful with Van Halen? It was just crazy. But anyway, that stood out to me today. And that particular song, his vocal, I was just like, man, it just sounds great. But, I guess it's the comfort level with the band and with playing for so many years together with these guys,
Yeah, that's his home, like you said. So we come to the next song, Beautiful Girls. And I'm not going to lie, when I first bought this record and I turned it around, like you do as a young child, in my day when I used to go buy CDs, and I was looking at the song titles, seeing if there's any. I saw Beautiful Girls, and I was thinking, maybe they've covered the Van Halen song Beautiful Girls. That's what I was thinking, yeah. And I was rushing home to get it on, so I wanted to skip forward, to find. And I thought, no, I'm going to listen to it from start to finish. And I was like, have they done it? Have they done it? And I was somewhat disappointed because I was hoping that they did it. I was hoping that they covered Beautiful Girls and sneakily just put it on there. So for me, I'm not going to lie. I was disappointed. I was hoping to hear Beautiful Girls by Van Halen, but it's not the case. It's a very tropo feeling song. I've got like a very tropical sort of vibe. Good second last song to the album. Acoustic, again, very clever, catchy melody line. Gary sings great. Great vocals all around, including the background vocals. Solo is over the top for the vibe of the song. I put that. Nuno is played so well on this record for every song. This one kind of pops out a little bit too much for the vibe of the song for me. There's some wonderful techniques and palm muting sections and legato runs. Beautiful. Definitely something I was thinking you'd hear more on a Beach Boys album like Kokomo, 90s Kokomo. That's what I'm picking up. Not one of my favorites on the album. I was disappointed. Maybe the more I listen to the album, I'll connect with it a little bit more. But I'm going to give it a respectful 6 out of 10 and possibly a skip.
Oh, my Lord. All right.
Am I timed out?
Yeah. Carry on the show, guys.
What happened? What happened? He disappeared? Is that real?
Yeah, he's out.
Oh.
Yeah. So
he's not coming back.
I kind of feel the same way as Brad.
Oh, you're gone to
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, it's just you and I now, mate.
Well, Andrew, I hate to tell you, but I think it just should be you because this is a skip.
Okay. Anyone want to come and do the show with me?
Yeah. That is a skip. I'm sorry. I didn't even write anything because I'm not. I mean, I was like Brad. I was like, I think anybody that's a Van Halen fan sees Beautiful Girls. You're like, oh my god. It's reggae. I don't know. I think it seemed like it was just too left field for Extreme. They're not. I don't know. Just it seemed like they tried crowbarring like a different style, and it just didn't work for me. I mean, I'm with Brad and John. That's a skip. That's the only skip I have. That's a skip.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll get this over and done with, folks. I love this song. I love the vibe. I love the song topic. It's always a great thing. And I'm not a fan of rap. I'm not a fan of rap, guys, but I thought the rap section in here piqued my interest, and I kind of thought, yeah, this fits. It fits with the song. I certainly gave this 9 out of 10. I'm the only one. I'll be interested to see what you folks in the chat think. Maybe I should be out of here and just leave the show to these three gentlemen. I love the reggae feel.
Yeah, I love like ska.
Ska.
Yeah,
Sorry,
ska.
John.
Yeah.
John said ska. Yeah, that's it. Yep.
Yeah, I love ska. I used to love the Specials. They're a great band and stuff like that. I also love reggae music and stuff like that. I love 311. I think 311's a great band. And but I don't know, this one. I don't hate it. It just seemed kind of out of place on this album compared to like everything else you're listening to. But in a way, it's good, I guess, because it is a surprise. I like when they throw in something out of left field, in there, So maybe
I'm going to tell you one thing. This is the theory from the Rock Professor, and the Rock Professor's got a theory, hasn't he, that the worst track is the second to last track on the album. So from your guys' perspective,
oh yeah.
Yeah. From your guys' perspective, it's working. But clearly, from John and my perspective, who clearly know more about music than you three, it's not.
Whether it's, I think I can speak for Brad and John. Whether it's reggae, ska, whatever you want to call it, it's total shit.
Look, we're having a bit of fun on here, folks. Even though we take our rankings seriously, it's always good to hang out with guys and
we're not being disrespectful. We're not being disrespectful. They love throwing like left of field sort of things on their albums, which is what they've done. I'm sorry. I just keep hearing Beach Boys, Kokomo. That's all.
Well, you're right, and that's not a bad thing.
Well, for me, I don't like the songs. So it's probably right.
Okay.
It's been flogged to death, So
all right, bro.
Anyway,
all right. I'll shut up then.
Here's to the losers. I mean, that's a song about everyone. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. Great acoustic intro. It's a song of hope for like hardworking guys and gals that just keep getting pushed down and keep getting back up. Great vocal from Gary again. Very catchy verses and chorus line. Wonderful melody, and melody is very important in a song to me. Great background vocals, drums and bass fit perfectly. What have I got here? About 3 minutes into the song, we're hearing some really nice lead guitar licks from Nuno. The solo again, very exotic. There's a thing with Nuno. He plays a lot of standard stuff, but puts exotic feel to it, which is his feel creeps in everywhere he plays. The key change is great. The outro, specifically the group vocals at the end of is great. Interesting how the song sort of fades out and then comes back in with that group vocal just to highlight. It must have been a really fun thing for him to record. I've given it 7.5 out of 10, guys. Never a skip. John.
Ooh.
I love this song. This is one of my top 3 favorites on the whole record. I love everything about it. Another Brian May influenced solo. I think Gary's vocals are great. The lyrics are I think it could be, I could see ESPN playing this as the loser team is walking off the field. Walking off the field. Here's to the losers, because it's a great sentiment. So many songs have been written about We Are the Champions. Well, Extreme has Here's to the Losers. You know what I mean? So many songs are written about the winners. It's like, like Brad said, this is for the regular everyday people. You know what I mean? The losers here. So I agree with you 100%. That modulation at the end where it jumps. I usually don't like those modulations because I kind of think it's like a cheap kind of pop device. You know what I mean? But that's a great one there. It really works for the song. It doesn't hurt it, and it just sounds great. So it's a 10 out of 10 for me. That's one of my favorites on the whole record.
Yep.
When I got to this song, I'm like, Here's to the Losers. I'm like, I'm gonna hate this one. Wrong. Again, I bring up three sides. This is very three sides to me. It fits right in there with Rise and Shine, and honestly, I got absolute chills when I listened to it. Right. What else? That group, that group chant, that group singing at the end, amazing, right? That's where Andrew was talking earlier about like 90s era, rock song, and I could see this being an MTV video hit in 1990. It's got a little bit of kind of like not it's got a Silent Lucidity type of feel to me. Not that it's like a rip off of that song. It's just got that atmospheric type of thing. And Gary, home run on this. Great guitars, great guitar licks in the end by Nuno. Maybe my favorite track on this album. 10 out of 10, maybe 11 out of 10 if I listen to it again.
Yeah, look, obviously interesting scores and opinions. I'm looking at Holly's and John's ZD351 scores on this album. Look, I got to agree with Johnny and Jimmy. When I first heard this, I've got here, Brad, written down, spine tingling when I first heard it. There was just something about this song. I've got modern classic. There's a modern classic feel to it. I love the lyrics. Obviously, the lyrics are really, really important. And this is one of the great things about rock and roll. We've got to remember this, folks. Rock and rollers have always been talking and singing about not just girls, drugs, fast cars, but also the everyday life of what's happening. The boring things that has an appeal to us, as ordinary people in the world. And this song nails it for me. It's a modern classic. I love the drums behind the vocal and Nuno's acoustic work. It's a next level song for me. It's next level, folks. It's so good that I've had to give it a Brad score.
Mm-hmm.
And one more point, folks, before I pass it on to a general conversation. Sometimes when we talk about ranking the tracks, when we listen to the last track, we think, shit, we've been ripped off here, or there should have been another song, or, when I first, and every time I listened to the album during the last couple of weeks, guys, since we decided to rank this, I felt completely satisfied after this song. It was like, this is just perfect end to a great album, and I haven't been, oh shit, I wish there was something else there, or they missed it. This song just nailed it for me, Brad. I think you need to change your score, bro.
No, I'm leaning more towards, I gave it a 7.5, but I don't think I'll listen to it and I'll try and see it from your guys' point of view.
Brad, you go back and listen to that song tonight again.
I don't see it being a Brad score ever. That song.
And you call us in the morning.
Oh, yeah. In 10 years' time, bro, I'll remind you of this show.
Okay.
Generally, didn't we all kind of, give or take a point or two, we all kind of agreed about most of these tunes in the same way, right?
Yeah.
Don't you think? Is that right?
Yeah. We didn't hate anything. We didn't really hate anything. I don't,
you guys did.
I did hate Beautiful Girls. I got to be honest.
You guys did.
I don't hate it.
I'm not even I'm not even going to call it Beautiful Girls. I'm going to call it Kokomo.
Yeah.
Oh, oh.
I don't want to knock Extreme because I love Extreme. So yeah, no, it's a great album, and to be expected. You can't put, a song on there. Every song can't be like Rise or a Banshee. They can't be all the same. They have to have variation, and it's great. It's a great album, and from start to finish, I think, 15 years. Well, it took too long, but it's here and it's done. Well done, gents. I remember each album that came out in the past, and from 3 sides onwards, I've bought each album as it's come out, and I've enjoyed going through each song on this. The first time I listened through it, I actually did my rankings the first time I listened to it, and they pretty much stayed the same each time I listened to it after that.
Brilliant.
I think it sits
sorry,
well.
Jimmy.
That's okay. I think it sits well in the discography of Extreme. I remember when I was in Boston in college in '86, and there was a huge Tower. Was it '87? Anyway, there was a huge Tower Records there, and one day, I used to go there all the time just to, look at albums, and they had like a great magazine section with Guitar Worlds and stuff like that. So I remember going up the second floor had all the rock stuff, and you go up this escalator, and they had like this big, display of Extreme, of the first album, right? I'm like, what's this, right? And I remember they were kind of pushing it because it's a Boston band, blah, blah, blah. And just like looking at the album cover, I'm like, all right, these guys look like they can rock. So I ended up buying the album and loved it. Everything from like Kid Ego. Come on, I mean, that's a great tune. So I'm with you guys. Like, Porno Graffiti came out, bought it the day it came out. 3 Sides, bought it the day it came out. Waiting for the punchline, all that. I think I don't know what you guys would think. I think it's a lot better than the previous album.
Oh,
yes?
100%.
Right. Did you like Saudades or whatever it's called?
I love that. I love that.
I
think that's a great one.
John and I pretty much agree on that album. I think it's a great album. Yeah, Star is amazing. I love that song.
I think there's so many great songs on that. Yeah, like Last Hour I mentioned earlier before. That song Run.
But
what I like on that album is
to defend this album and Jimmy's proposition, though, you guys have been listening to that album for 15 years.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
No. It's all relevant, Andrew. Everything we're saying is relevant because this album's only just come out. We haven't had a chance to bond with it yet.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that was a great point that Jimmy made, folks, at the beginning of the show. This is the first contemporary album that we've done on the channel. Even the re-releases that we've done have been always, Brad, as you know, they've always been out on the marketplace. But speaking of re-releases, so the 4 of us are going to be back next month. Don't forget, guys, with the Brian May Van Halen Starfleet project release. So we're going to be doing all this again, the 4 of us, in about 4 weeks' time.
All right.
Looking forward to it.
Sounds good.
Definitely. Are you guys going to do a 24 nights, box set thing? I'd like to check that one out when you guys do it.
Please do.
We're gonna have to do that in. I've already thought about it, Andrew, for the channel. We're gonna have to do it over a bunch of episodes. We can't do it.
Oh yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot there.
We're gonna have to break it up, like maybe half a Blu-ray each, like half the album each one, because there's so much to talk about.
Probably 4 shows. There's 4 shows there, so we're going to get Jimmy on as a guest. At least for one show, we're definitely planning it, folks. If you are Clapton fans, we're definitely planning it. It's a big event for the channel, 24 nights. We picked up a lot of subs because of the album, and we kind of want to repay the people back. Bent Tom reckons Beautiful Girls should have been left off the album.
Well, I can see why, because it probably is the one that sticks out like a sore thumb.
It does.
Yeah. But that's what let's be honest, the Extreme like doing that.
Yeah.
So, and that's their thing. They put things on to, boom, throw people off a little bit. So you think you're on the bitumen track, and then all of a sudden you're off on the dirt track, heading towards the grass. You know, so you're not sure where to go. When the first time listening through with an Extreme album, you're not sure what to hear.
The professor was right. The second to last song is the dud.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Although, right, as soon as you said that, I was thinking "Girl Gone Bad" is the second to last song on 1984. So,
Ronnie, it doesn't work with every album, but there seems to be
more often than not.
There seems to be a certain energy with that second last song that it's absolute shit. But anyway,
yeah. Speaking of the Rock Professor, folks, we're going to be back with the Rock Professor tomorrow, Brad and I, and we're going to be ranking the album that he did, that Robert Plant did with Alison Krauss that came out in 2007, bro. Rising Sands. Yeah. So we're going to be talking about that and ranking that tomorrow. I'm going to quickly say thank you guys for hanging out with us. Thank you for watching us, and thank you for participating with us, and thank you for subscribing to us. I'm going to ask Johnny to say a word, and then Jimmy, and then Brad's going to end it and do a shout out to all you guys. Johnny.
Yeah. So Andrew, you made a great point that when you were done listening to this album, you kind of felt satisfied. Like, I think that's an excellent point that you made, where you said that, sometimes you're waiting and waiting for that one song, and it never comes. So you're when you're done, you're like a little bit of disappointment. But I agree with you on this one. I didn't get that at all. I was completely satisfied with this, and I'm looking forward to, like Brad says, letting it soak in over time, and you get a better idea of what the songs are, a better relationship with the songs. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
You know what? I always thought that the songs that you initially like right away, those ones don't have staying power a lot of times. Like a lot of pop songs, they're like throwaway more. And I feel like the ones that they have to like reveal themselves over time. It's like you're peeling an onion. They have more layers to them, and it takes you longer if you don't love them the first time. And I think this album's got a lot of both of those songs. It's got the ones that you initially like right off the bat that brings you in, and then it has the ones that are going to, over time, they're going to reveal themselves to you. So I just think that makes for a great album. So that's it. Anyway, Jimmy.
This was a tough album only because it was so new. If we were going to do, like, I don't know, name any other album, not even from Extreme, but anything like that we grew up with, Dokken, Rat, whatever, there's a lot more to say with this one. You don't have the relationship that you would have with, let's say, with a Three Sides or Porno Graffiti or something, taking, the Extreme catalog into account. But like I said, during the cast here, it's I think it fits well in the discography, and I see I see these tunes, 2 or 3 of these tunes staying in the set, going forward. Other than that, I want to thank you guys for having me. I've watched a lot of the historical ranking the tracks. Really enjoyed them. All these great albums that you guys have done. So being a part of this, thank you, Brad. You're awesome. All you guys. I mean, like I said, I've watched. I drive around and I listen to them, and they're fantastic. So I dig that. So thank you for having me on this. Definitely.
Thanks, Jimmy. Guys, I want to thank you guys for humoring me, I guess, doing a new album. Like we've just keep saying, we keep doing, retro albums, really. And, I thought it would be a good opportunity to do this, rank the album that's just come out. Maybe in 10 years' time we can revisit it. Who knows? But, we do a part 2 of Extreme 6. But I think it was a first listen through of this album. to like the 20th or 30th listen through now, it's still I still love the album. I think it's great. The first 5 or 6 tracks are not what I'd expect from Extreme, but now I'd expect from Extreme, if that makes sense, because I've heard it now enough to go, that's the direction they're going. And thank you, gentlemen, for your rankings. I'm obviously going to go listening to these songs a little differently now with other people's perspectives, which is great. And I love doing that. It's great. So I think I'll do a bit of a shout out to everyone in the chat, and we're done, gentlemen. Unless you guys have got anything else you want to say. All right. So John ZD351, thank you for joining us. Holly Lewis. We have Robert Ranford. Thanks for joining us. Mikey Mojo. Everyone's contributions here in the chat have not been unnoticed. We've seen everyone here, so thank you so much. Christopher Live Soa, thank you for joining us. I know there's a few more coming down in the chat. I usually write these down, but I've been so intrigued in what everyone's saying. I'm missing them. Who have we got here that I've missed? Ellen told my mother. She's been lurking in the chat there. Greg Roberts tune, thank you for joining us. DK Wilson, thank you for joining us. It's great to see some familiar faces here and some people that I'm not familiar with as well. It's great. We had Jay come in, 7 over 8. Thanks for your dropping in. Frocake Tony, thanks for dropping in. We have got gentlemen, I think I've got everyone that's popped in.
Fantastic.
If I've missed you, and I'm still scrolling to look for anyone new, but if I've missed you, I do apologize. Ben Tom, thank you for joining us again. Right at the end there, we saw your few comments. So thanks everyone for joining us. And please, if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. We've got a goal of getting to 10,000 now. And yes, that's a picture of Andrew back in the day. That's his clickbait. Back in his dating days when he was out there.
That's when he used to shave. When he used to shave.
That's right. Clean shaven.
Yeah.
But thanks for humoring me with doing this album. I think it's been a great little.
Great idea, Brad. Great idea.
Yeah, excellent idea.
So the 4 of us, folks, we've already got the show card set up. Go and hit that notification button. We're going to be back, and we can't wait to do that Brian May masterpiece that he did in the early 80s with Eddie Van Halen.
I just listened to something about that, and like they're going to release everything they have. Like 4 takes of a song, 7 takes of another song, like everything they have.
Well, that's how Brian May is going to do it, and that's an example to the Van Halens on how you do it.
I listen to these guys, Dave and Dave Unchained. I'll give them a plug. They are a fantastic Van Halen podcast. If you guys don't listen to them, you should. It's fantastic. But they were talking about that, and it's like they were saying how it's funny how this is what we want in terms of like a Van Halen 1 or a Van Halen 2. But look, we're never going to get that. So it takes Brian May to give us something like this with Eddie on it. You know what I mean? So,
unfortunately,
good.
Yeah. All right, we're out of here, gentlemen.
That's it.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.